A little bit of audio noise. We can do a little bit of audio noise. Turn this. Oh, maybe that's it. Good morning. Good morning. Today is the 6th of April. It's nice outside. I was there. I saw it with my own eyes, and I liked it. And what else? This is Ask a Traffic Cop. My name is Sean Shapiro. You can see that on screen because I'm trying this new background thing where I put my name and who I am and where I work. I also, maybe I didn't save the new one. Oh yeah, I have another version of this background that actually is easier for you to read. It's too late. I'll do it tomorrow. What can I tell you? What's new and interesting today? Today we have Vision Zero in both 12 Division and 51 Division. Those are the communities, the neighborhoods of Weston, Mount Dennis, Rockcliffe, Smythe, St. Jamestown, Cabbagetown, yeah, Riverdale, Church and Young neighborhoods. That's where our team is focusing their efforts trying to change driver behavior. How do they do that? What do they do? What do they focus on? What are they interested in? They're looking for drivers who are choosing to speed, drive aggressively, drive distracted, drive impaired. They're trying to save people's lives, folks. That's what they do. They do it one ticket at a time. Jake here says morning to me and Buddy. Buddy being over my shoulder over there. He's our one-of-a-kind, one-off special friend for the office. He's actually got a badge, a real badge, and it says Buddy on it. What can I tell you? We are live. We're taking your questions for a full hour. We're going to go right to 11 o'clock. Today, we're 11 o'clock, 1 hour. Tomorrow, we're actually going to be on for a full hour and a half. So I guess it's not full. It's an hour and a half. We're going to be on with Jerry Agar at News Talk 1010. That's starting at 9:30 roughly. We're going to do the half an hour with them. Of course, you can watch us on TikTok and everywhere where that we are broadcasting, which includes YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram Live. We're going to be everywhere for an hour and a half. So the regular show at 10 to 11, but we'll be on the area. And of course, you can listen and call into the radio show if you so choose in the morning. So Big Jeff Fresh just popped in from YouTube. It's the day after his birthday. Yesterday was his birthday, and he still spent it with us. So hope you had a great celebratory, evening and experience there, Jeff. If you are asking questions on Instagram Live or TikTok Live, use the Q&A function. That's going to give you that question mark in the bubble. Allows me to see it. If you are asking questions in the chat, I won't see it, but our moderators might. And if you ask there, you will likely get answered there because that's how we roll. If you are watching and want to ask questions on YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, it's true. If you're watching on YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, those you can just ask questions in the chat. Twitter's API is not working well, so we are not seeing questions from Twitter followers, but you can jump into any of our other streams to get your questions answered, and we invite you to do that. If you're not following us, please do. You can follow us on any and all of the platforms. If you want to follow us, we're slowly approaching 1,000 followers on YouTube. It's cool. We love you wherever you are, but if you want to come join us on YouTube where you get a wide-angle view, you can do that and follow us there. Follow us everywhere. Okay, let's jump in. Oh, also, before we even get into it, and we're about to get into it, please tap that screen, like the video, share the video. Regardless of where you are, we appreciate you helping to share the word. We want to make sure we get in front of as many people as possible and make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to ask us questions, get their questions heard and responded to. It's our goal to get through as many as possible. Obviously, it doesn't always work, but we always start off with that intent to help everybody. Let's get in here. Let's see what's going on here. We got a bunch of questions coming in. Here's a question. How are cops picked to do construction sites safely? So I think that's what you're asking about. How do paid duty officers get assigned to paid duties? So paid duties are just what they sound like. It's officers being paid on their own time. They're off duty. They get called in essentially for overtime that's paid by a particular company to handle whatever detail they need handled, whether it be security or traffic direction and control. So they basically they put themselves out and say they're available. They might bid on it, sort of like eBay. Whoever's done the least amount of overtime can put in for it, and they may win it like a bid. But that's how it works. It's not on duty. We don't do private work on duty. What is the maximum speed limit while overtaking? One of my favorite questions of all time is how much can I legally speed? And the answer is you can't. There is no legal speed or overtaking speed. The posted speed limit is the maximum you're allowed to legally travel, and that's it. That's all you can do. I know it's on the screen for those that are on TikTok, but I just realized I didn't say what I normally say, which is, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police officer with the Toronto Police Service here in Ontario, Canada, and I go on social media to answer your traffic and police questions. Now that I've said that, let's get back into things. Okay. We have... Andrew McNaughton says, happy belated birthday to Big Jeff Fresh. And Kayla Draconis comes in with a daily greetings and salutations. If I haven't mentioned it, this show, actually, I know I haven't mentioned it. We are a community. It's not just a show. We are people who come in here on a regular basis. I'm just one of them. I happen to be in front of the camera, but we're all in this together trying to get your traffic and police questions answered. Can I sleep in my car if I've been drinking? That's a great question. And the answer is generally no. It's something that used to be called care and control. If you have the ability to sleep it off for a few hours, but then wake up and you're still impaired and still decide to get behind the wheel and drive, you are just as in control of that vehicle in the back seat, sleeping, as if you were behind the wheel, according to law. So you could be charged for impaired operation, even if you were having a nap, because there's no way of knowing what you're going to do next. If you are drinking, don't sleep in your car. Choose another alternative. Take a cab, take an Uber, take some alternative mode of transportation. Obviously, don't drive, but don't be in your car. That's just not a good idea. You know what? If you're going to be drinking, plan other ways to get to the bar. Don't even be in a situation where you might be making a choice. And I commend someone who wants to make other alternatives. And it seems like a good idea, right? I'm going to get in the car. I'm going to sleep it off because I acknowledge that I've had too many to drink. The problem is, an hour or two later, that's a problem. Okay. I got to change the overlay because nobody can read the chat. So hang on a second here. We tried again. I'm trying to see if it's a... No, that didn't work. 1 second as I try and fix this.
I'll send you the screenshot over Discord why it's hard to read.
No, I appreciate that. It can be hard to read. There is going to be a way to do it, and I had another version that I obviously didn't export, and that will allow me to have a black bar at the bottom as I fix this, and everyone gets seasick while I fix the camera.
Life is better.
Well, there's going to be some happy medium with overlay or not, but I think it's a good thing to do. Just a matter of figuring out how to make the design work best. Okay. And with that, I got a little more static when I moved it. It's all this balancing act of trying not to get static. Okay, here we go. Is it illegal to drive dirt bikes on the road? Yes, it is. They're not permitted to be on the road. They're not legal for the street. They're not licensed for the street. They're not insured for the street, and they're generally prohibited everywhere. Dirt bikes. Now, off-road vehicles like quad runners, licensed, insured, driven by a licensed driver, can be, in certain scenarios, utilized at the side of the road in certain jurisdictions. It depends where. You need to know where you're allowed to go on your off-road vehicle before you decide to take it on the road. But dirt bikes, absolutely not. Can you lane split on a motorcycle? No, you are not permitted to lane split in a motorcycle. Careless driving is likely the best charge or most appropriate charge, but it could be stunt depending on how it's done. You cannot lane split. Let's see what's going on here. Caitlin Gratton says, hey, Sean, good morning. Good morning to you. She would like to know how often we should change our blinker fluid. I see a lot of people that are low on it lately. It's an epidemic, actually. I don't know if it's because of the temperature changes that there may be a crack in the cylinder and the blinker fluid is draining out slowly and it just stopped functioning, or people just don't know how to drive and they don't use their signals and they don't know if their blinker fluid is up or not. You know what? Those signals, not only are they a requirement under law to notify others on the road what you're about to do, it's called safety and cooperative driving. So thanks, Caitlin, for bringing that up. Chasey says, too long for Instagram. You said before that Ontario drivers can't drive families' U.S. registered vehicles and can be seized. So why are U-Hauls legal, all registered in Arizona? Okay, so the deal is that okay, this is a longer answer, but you're right. If vehicles that are registered in Arizona through for U-Haul, our vehicles, they're not stationed here permanently. They're rotating their vehicles throughout their locations. They're not a permanent vehicle located here. I believe there's something specific to Arizona registration that is a little wonky compared to anywhere else that allows them to do things a little differently. But ultimately, if you are driving a vehicle long term, it's now a vehicle that you are using in Ontario, but you're not the registered owner, and it is registered out of the country. You failed to import that properly, and you are. It would be something under the duty taxes and Excise Act, I think it is. I can't remember the full term, but ultimately, it's because you are the driver here. You're using it permanently here. Now, if there's always an exception to every rule. So if your uncle's visiting from California, he's parked behind you, and he asks you to get milk, and you take that car to the corner store, is that a problem? Probably not. But if he decides to let you drive that car for a couple of months while he goes back home, that would be a problem. And every situation is going to be evaluated on its own. Let's go into here. Can I speed if I'm in danger? No, you're not allowed to speed ever. And when you speed, you put yourself in danger as well. Danger is a pretty broad thing, a broad statement. So it depends on what you're talking about. Maybe you choose to do that and hope to get pulled over by police because you want us to assist you. And maybe if that's what you're doing, then that would work because we'd pull you over for speeding and then we'd give you the help you need. But no, you should never speed because speeding is dangerous. Can you drive a quad on the road? No, not on the road, but in certain jurisdictions, not in Toronto. They can be used on the side of the shoulder of the road in certain circumstances, depending on where you are. Why do cops park in parking lots for hours? Sometimes we're doing the reports related to the calls we just left, and that could be hours. It does take a long time to complete certain complicated reports, and very often we are there following up on paperwork while we're waiting for another call. Firemen stay in firehouses. We often sit in parking lots and type up our work. It's not always the case. Sometimes we're out looking for people to catch violating different Highway Traffic Act offenses. It also depends on what kind of police officer you are. Now, we're police officers, but we have different specialties, and some of us are traffic officers, and some of us are divisional response officers, and every situation is different. So that may be one of the many possible reasons why someone's parked in a parking lot, seemingly hanging out. Okay. Same person with lots of questions, and they're getting progressively sillier, so I'm going to ignore your follow-up question there, Choppy. Okay. Okay, is the speed limit increasing on April 22nd highways? Some highways have the pilot remaining permanently. For instance, in the 404, I believe it's 16 kilometer an hour, not 16 kilometer an hour, it's 16 kilometer stretch of highway that's going to 110. It's only that area that is going to be faster than the 100 that it's currently or on the rest of the highway, but the entire highway is not turning to 110. So yeah, read the signs, follow the signs. Not everything is changing. Are you allowed to stop on the highway? For emergencies, you can stop on the highway, but you can't. You're not permitted to just park on the highway to park on the highway. That would be an offense as well. Parking on the King's Highway. Yeah. Okay. Motorcycle front and rear plate mounted to helmet? What? Rob Baker wants to know. Yeah, there's no front plate for a motorcycle. That's one of the few vehicles that doesn't require one. The rear plate must be mounted to the rear of the vehicle, and it must be illuminated. Yeah. Failing to do so results in tickets. How do I make this buzzing stop? It's really annoying. Okay. Apparently, if I hold the wire, I absorb the staticky sound and stops it from hurting my ears. It's a horrible torture. Legal tint limit in Ontario. Tint. The question is tint, and the answer is the maximum permitted to be on your windows before it's considered unsafe under the Highway Traffic Act regulations, the light truck and vehicle inspection guide, is 30% light blockage. That's it. That's all. You can't have more than 30% light blockage, so 70% of the light has to get through. Now, that is specific to the windows left and right of the driver. You can have no tint on the front windshield, and the windows behind the driver, they are not regulated the same way. You can't have mirrored tint on the front windows in the front because you have to be able to allow viewing into the vehicle. But because there's a separate charge under the Highway Traffic Act for obscure interior vehicle with color or reflective tint. But the rear windows, you can paint them completely opaque. Rear window, rear passenger, cargo area, that is not required to be visible. Visible? Transparent? Yeah. Neil says, good blessed Wednesday morning, everybody. Thank you. Pro Football Craze comes in and says, good morning, coming in from Twitch.
Sandwiches?
Sandwiches. Apparently there's a lot of spam going on there. No spam, please. Don't repeat yourself, and don't go on just being spammy. Spam may be good from a can, but it's not good for a chat room. I live in Ottawa and Quebec. Drivers don't need front license plates. Is there a reason why it's mandatory in Ontario? So if you live in Ottawa and your vehicle is registered in Ottawa, then you would require it. But a Quebec registered plate doesn't need it because it's in Quebec. Ontario plates, they evaluated when the Ford administration came in, they were looking at getting rid of front plates to save money. And the ultimate question went out to the Chiefs of Police Association, the Ontario Chiefs of Police Association. And what came back was an interest for, the suggestion was for public safety, for things like Amber Alerts, being able to identify a vehicle. It's important to be visible, legible at a distance from either coming or going. So the decision for public safety was to leave the front license plate on. And I think it's a good reason or a good decision. Okay. What is the law when it comes to exhaust? It's a more complicated question than that. You must have an exhaust. You must have a proper exhaust system, which includes a muffler and resonator. There are a few exceptions, that there are vehicles that are stock that are so quiet due to either turbos or other systems in place that they don't require a muffler or resonator. But obviously then the clue that causes you to be pulled over, which is that excessive noise, that won't cause an investigation, which will then result in tickets. But you can't create unnecessary noise. There's a charge called unnecessary noise. So there's two charges. One, no muffler or improper exhaust. And then secondly, there's the noise situation. So you can't make too much noise, and you can't have a system unless properly configured. And it's like three vehicles that I'm aware of. I think one of them is the Brabus Fiat. I think it's such a tiny engine that it doesn't require a muffler because there's other things in play that actually muffle the sound. Neil said, what is this question? Kayla Draconis, the bad connection or wire. This is actually because we're transmitting on LTE for TikTok. Unfortunately, our network blocks TikTok from broadcasting. So as a result, the cell phone, and I have two cell phones, one for Instagram and one for TikTok, I then get this interference, and the wire's good. It's just a pain in the rear. Neil says, valid driver's license, borrowing friend's car with written permission, can we still get a ticket if we show proof? If the vehicle is licensed, if the vehicle has insurance and you can prove it, then a licensed driver can borrow legally a car with their permission, written permission or otherwise. The issue is that it must be insured. The driver doesn't have to be specifically insured. The vehicle does. Okay, let's go here. Can a learner drive a V8 car? You can drive a V12 car. The engine displacement isn't a condition in Ontario for driving a vehicle as a learner. Let's see here. What is this? Waiting for people and cars stop versus just the people. I don't know what your question is. Waiting for people in cars at a stop versus just the people. Yeah, I might be missing. I am missing the question. Who is calling? Anonymous is calling. Let's see here. Car passes me on my left, fault. Maybe there's another part to your question, but simply the question of cars passing you and fault, I don't know, fault for what? Cars can pass on the left, generally speaking. I don't know what your question is. Okay. Oh, some of these really silly questions. This is like now spam in the form of silly questions, and I say that I don't say that lightly. These are really silly questions. Not all of them, just the ones that I'm identifying. Like people who say, "Can I do illegal things like legally?" No, they're illegal. What is this? Do we still need to put a license plate sticker on our plate? Well, not once you've renewed. If your license plate is valid after you're renewing under the new Ontario system, then you don't have to put a sticker on because there's no more stickers to put on. If your plate is not valid, well, that's going to be a problem. Which comes to Austinator's question of how do you know when your license plate is due in time for renewal? Look at your registration is a good hint. If you, being that it's your vehicle, you know when you renewed it. You should go in and try and renew it. Generally speaking, it's when your license plate sticker is no longer valid. And of course, with the system being that we don't require those anymore, anyone who expired March 1st, 2020 or later was extended until, February 28th. And then they extended to March 31st. So if you have expired, you are expired, and you need to renew. And you can be ticketed right now for having an expired plate. Now, they've gotten out of the system of sending renewal notices. My understanding is you need to go onto the ministry website and sign up for electronic notices. If you haven't done that, you should go do that. How do ticket fighters instantly dismiss tickets? That's a great question. I've never heard of that ever happening ever in history. There's no instant dismissal of tickets. There are maybe errors that they're aware of or identify in court that may, when brought up to a justice of the peace or to a prosecutor, may result in tickets being dismissed, or maybe the officer didn't make it, at which point it would be dismissed. But there is no magic fix. Ticket fighters don't instantly do anything. They just make attempts and sometimes have luck. Is it illegal if I have a race seat? Well, I don't know what a race seat is. If you have a legal seat, it's legal. If you have an illegal seat, it's illegal. It has to meet the requirements under safety, and you cannot remove the OEM seat belt. So your race seat could have a 6-point harness, and you will still need to drive with your, you're still going to drive with your OEM seat belt on top of whatever seat belt you put in for racing. If it's legal for the track, doesn't mean it's legal for the road. Okay. My sticker's good until September. Well, Austinator, if you are good till September, you are good till September. Let's see here. But you can renew now 1 or 2 years and get it over with. Okay, let's go here. All your tips helped me pass my G2, so thank you. Well, you're very welcome. I'm glad to hear that we were of assistance to you, because that's the whole idea of what we do here is to help you out and help everyone who's watching. Are cops lenient for tint? Well, cops is a pretty general thing. Some cops are more or less lenient about certain things because it's the individual officer's discretion as to what they're going to lay charges for. We don't have to lay every charge. Obviously, we are focused on the things that lead to serious injury and death on our roads, and everyone's got their things. Some of them are big on seatbelts. Some of them are big on loud pipes. Others are big on tints. And then there are some that are generalists, and they are big on everything. That's where if I see an offense, I lay the charge. So it really depends on your luck, my friend. But the best thing is not to break the law, and you reduce the risk significantly of being charged for it. Because when you're charged for it, then you have to go deal with it in court if you, or correct the issue and pay your ticket. Okay. How much is the ticket for not using your turn signals? $110. At most, that seems to be the most common denomination or dollar amount for an offense is 110 and 3 demerit points. That seems to be the average. Okay. I have to delete some silly questions. Oh, I got a lot of static. I wonder if it's silly question static.
Sergeant Kulik?
Walking by, possibly.
Okay.
Liam wants to know, why are Sudbury cops bad for pulling people over? I assume you mean that they are good at pulling people over for breaking the law, because if you're complaining that they're pulling people over, they're doing their job. I don't have any experience with Sudbury police pulling people over, but I assume, again, if you're being pulled over, it's because you're breaking the law and they're doing a great job. Being on the phone with 911 driving, okay or no? Yeah, if you are driving and you see an emergency and you call 911, you are eligible or exempt to the law that says you can't use your phone. You're actually able to pick up your phone, dial, and use it without hands-free if you had to. That's the whole thing about being an emergency, whereas police, fire, and ambulance are allowed to use it because they are 911, and you're allowed to use it to call 911. Overly simplified answer, but that is the deal. Generally, who is at fault in a lane change collision? The lane changer. If you're in a lane, you own that lane. If someone changes into your lane and they are in the process of changing lanes, they take the responsibility because they can only make that move when it's safe to do so. Obviously, there are always exceptions to it, because if you do something that is unsafe that causes the collision, you may also hold some of the fault. But generally speaking, it's the person making the lane change that is the person at fault. Or turning, for that matter. Do you believe in letting people off with a warning? Depends on the charge. If it's something minor, yeah. In fact, and if it's something dangerous, no. So if you're speeding, depending, at 5 or 10 over, maybe you get a warning. If you're doing 20 over, you're getting a ticket. That's how I would have easily, being able to articulate or justify what my decision making was very often. It depends. Cell phones, major offense, you're getting a ticket. Stunt driving, you're losing your car and getting a ticket. But warnings are great when it's minor things and when the person takes responsibility for their actions. But when someone says, no, you're lying, I wasn't doing that, well, chances are you're getting a ticket. Can the cops' passenger doors be opened from outside? Yes, that's how we open the doors. If you mean like how do we open the doors? When they're unlocked, we can open them with the handle. Obviously, we lock them, so the handles don't work when there's prisoners inside. We already covered the lane change. Okay. Person hit me when lane changing, who's at fault? Already covered that. Please don't ask the same question 25 times and in different wordings unless, we don't understand your question. Then it obviously needs further clarification. But, yeah, please don't spam. That's still spamming. Okay, Liam, you really have lots of questions about Sudbury. We're not in Sudbury. I can't speak for what Sudbury officers do. I see you got a bone to pick with them. You should call them. I'd like to do Yippee, but I have summer school. Yippee is is a youth program, and it is back on. It was remote. I think it's back in person now. I'm not entirely sure. But you should look into the Yippee program. I just don't know how that would work with your summer school, because it's a job. You have to show up. How do you tell if I'm speeding if you're driving? So as a police officer, when I'm driving my vehicle, traffic cars have moving radar installed, so we can measure your speed, and then it does the math and calculates what our speed is and tells us what your speed is, even taking into consideration the speed of our vehicle. It can get you coming, going, in whether it be in front of us or behind us. But there's also another thing we can do, pacing you. We can just follow you and do the same speed as you and know how fast you're going by even without equipment like that. Bugatti Veyron doing 400 kilometers in a 90 kilometer an hour zone. What's the charge? Criminal dangerous driving. I would charge you possibly for the stunt too. Can I do both? I would definitely criminal. I'd arrest that driver for 400 kilometers an hour, no question. But I would also lay as many charges as possible. And they would all be legit. Like stunt driving, you were doing over 50 over. I would. I can't imagine why anyone would do that. Just wild. But we did have someone doing 305. I think the OPP charged someone for 305 on the highway a year or so ago. So people do these silly speeds, but they should lose their licenses for life. And that's part of the program with stunt driving. You do get escalating consequences. So the first time it's going to be a 1 to 3 year suspension. The second time it's I think it's 3 to 7 year or 3 to 5 year. I can't remember. And then the third time I think you go into a lifetime suspension. So these are things that should be happening. People who choose to put other lives at risk to be silly and I don't know what the motivation is for someone to do that. But anyway, going to get off this topic and move on. Sorry I'm late. You're not late, Stephen. We're glad to have you whenever you get here. Why do cops lay their hands on the back of cars? Not every cop does that, but it's to mark the vehicle, to be able to say that if that vehicle took off, that's me and I am the person who touched the car, so I know it's the car that took off. Okay. What's the worst case if you don't pull over and run? Well, we get to escalate those charges because suddenly you are failed to stop for police and you take a minor charge and turn it into a much more serious charge. An arrest is obviously a possible outcome. What's the legal tint maximum? We covered it earlier in the show, but it is 30% light blockage. That's the maximum amount of tint that can be applied before we take your license plate and make you go for a safety to get it back. So that's a problem. The deal is that you can't have anything on the front windshield, but the windows behind the driver and the rear of the vehicle, they can be as dark as you want, but the windows left and right of the driver, no more than 30% light blockage. And of course, you cannot prevent us from seeing inside the vehicle. And I say us, it's anyone in the public. We're all entitled to come look in your vehicle to see the driver and see what the driver's doing. If you don't have that ability, even if it's atmospheric conditions, you put lighter tint, but it's really dark outside and we can't see in. That's obscuring the interior of your vehicle with either color or reflective coating, illegal. Will the new 110-kilometer rule apply to all of the 401? No, only certain sections. A question of, is TSV hiring? Well, we're always looking for police officers who are interested in working in traffic. It's a specialty and it's not for everybody. But in terms of, is TSV hiring? We don't hire per se. The Toronto Police is hiring, and if you become a police officer, there's a possibility that you could either one day become a traffic officer, but you may go into other areas of policing. This is a career that you can start in one area and end in another, or change every few years. You could be, a PRU officer, get into forensics, get into dog handling. You could get into a mounted unit. You could be all sorts of different things, all while still being a police officer. So lots of different things. Let's see here. Tips for getting your for the G2 test. I got mine soon. I don't have specific tips. You know who does have good tips for that would be the Safe Driver. He's a driving instructor. He has a channel here on TikTok. Safe Driver, the Safe Driver. Check him out, Scott Marshall. He's also got a podcast. You can check that podcast out. We've got a podcast. You can check out TPS Traffic Jam. TPS Traffic Jam, that's where we're going to take our interviews and put them on podcasts. We've got podcast formats. We've got 2 of them currently available on Apple, the Apple Podcast app. We're on, what are we on? We're on Spotify. We're on Amazon's platform. We're on Google. So you can subscribe to us there too. But Scott Marshall, he's a driving instructor, great guy. Lots of information for people who are taking their tests. And the big thing that he says, and I repeat, which is, go to the bathroom, get good sleep, eat something, don't be hungry, and practice. But, and verbalize what you're doing. Michael Maravitz? What's going on, Michael? He says, good morning. Maravitz. I want to make sure I'm not mispronouncing. Am I pronouncing it anywhere close to correct? Rob Baker says, where is Sergeant Campbell? He's off at use of force. Every year we have to go and requalify for use of force, for firearms qualification and so on. So he's at the College of Knowledge doing that ninja-fying thing where he gets qualified for another year. What do you think of the new 110-kilometer-an-hour speed limits? If they say it's safe in the area that they're doing it, then it must be safe in the area that they're doing it. Generally speaking, Vision Zero and the City of Toronto, and our perspective, slower is safer. But the government has come out and said in the areas that they are increasing the speed, they have determined that it is safe to do so in that area. And it's a 16-kilometer stretch in the 404, so it's not everywhere. It's just in specific areas. So watch for signs. Make sure you're not breaking the rules. Let's see here. Can I install flashing strobes on my motorcycle? Strobe lights are generally not permitted. You cannot have, depending on the color, depending on the direction, strobes are something you're not going to want to install. I would say it's not a good idea, but it really depends on what you're doing and where you're planning on using it. If you're driving with strobes, that's a problem. If you're on parking lots, putting something for a show bike, another situation, very different. Depends on what you're doing. What is the rule for tinted headlights and taillights? You cannot tint your headlights at all. And taillights, here's the deal. The rules say 150 meters for discernible and effective at 150 meters for headlights, and discernible and effective to the rear for being able to see your taillights. So when you start tinting them, you reduce their effective functionality. There's a specific charge for putting any tint or film in front of a headlight. The rear taillights is just common sense. Why would you reduce your ability to be seen? People drive into people's vehicles who have good and properly functioning taillights, and they do more of that when your taillight is, coated. It may look cool, I won't deny that. However, you should not be doing that. And insurance companies and police officers, when investigating collisions that are rear end, look at things. We call those clues. And you might be more responsible for the collision that you were involved in, even though you were rear-ended, because you had modified your vehicle to be less safe. Okay, Rob Baker says, Jeep drove by me with 16 off-road headlights. Would I have been able to citizen arrest him? So no, you can't arrest anybody for HTA offenses as a citizen. You have to. It's only indictable offenses found committing. I'm not going to get into the weeds about what a citizen's arrest allows you to do, but I can tell you it's not Highway Traffic Act offenses for having too many headlights. There are a maximum number of activated or active headlights on a motor vehicle. 4 bulbs with more than 300 candela is the maximum number of forward-facing bulbs you can have, at least active at one time. So no doubt that it would have been illegal if they were all on. And possibly the off-road bar across the top would have been simply illegal because they probably weren't directed properly. But that's another story. Do commercial vehicles still need plate stickers? Yes, the majority of those do. More information would be found on the MTO site. Best team ever. Thank you, Sean, and moderators. Well, Chloe, thank you. We have fun doing this, and we're glad that we can help out. And thank you so much to all the moderators. We have a team for more than a year now. We have a team of moderators, primarily the same group of people who have shown up on a regular basis to make this possible, to make it better for everyone who is enjoying the content that we provide. So thank you to them. And if you are interested in becoming a member of the Toronto Police Service, check out tps.on.ca/careers. You can get information on becoming a member of the Toronto Police Service, whether it be as a police officer or civilian. And I did this earlier, and I closed the window, and I shouldn't have. I'm going to open up the website again. Toronto, here we go. Opening up the website, careers, current opportunities, here we go. I just wanted to read some of the civilian opportunities currently available on our website because we're hiring all sorts. So currently posted on our website, we have a contract position for a senior or for a safety coordinator at our wellness unit. We have a posting for a special constable, an agreement specialist in legal services, a senior technical analyst in event management and monitoring, a printing operator. I don't know what a printing operator does, but if you read the job description, you'll find out, and a digital team developer. So those are just the positions that are currently open for application, and that changes on a regular basis. There's always more opportunities. Check it out. Now, there's also current positions available for police cadet. We are actively looking for police applicants. Can I get a ticket by pacing? What do I do to fight it? You don't speed, so you don't get the ticket being paced, because there's nothing to pace if you're doing the speed limit. If you broke the law and you were paced, then pay your ticket because you're guilty. Okay. Let's see here. If someone hits a jaywalker, who is liable? I can't say for certain one way or another because you can legally cross the jaywalking. First of all, isn't a law here in Canada. It's a term from elsewhere. Crossing mid-block is not necessarily illegal. You can't hit someone who's lawfully in the road. It all depends. So the ideal goal is don't hit pedestrians, and we'd all be better for it. Okay. Do you recommend college for becoming an officer? Absolutely. I recommend continuing education until such time as you are hired so that you are constantly learning and forever becoming a better applicant, because it's a competitive process, and the more education you can acquire through your years of being here on this little blue marble allows you to be a better candidate in the competition. And it is a competition. Okay. Is it illegal to lower the car? It's not illegal to simply lower a car, although it must be done properly. There is a way to unsafely lower your car. Talking to a proper mechanic would be a good way to get things done properly. Chopping springs and dangerous things could find your way to having an unsafe vehicle. Obviously, being too low is a problem as well. Let's go to Instagram here. I've been ignoring Instagram. My apologies to y'all on Instagram, which is, let's see here. How long have you been doing this job? Coming in from Sad Blunt. I've been doing this, well, it depends on what you call this job. I've been working in safety programs for a few years now, maybe 3 years. But social media, doing this particular function, we've just been doing this for over a year. It's brand new to the service. No one's doing this anywhere, really. Not the way we do it. So it's pretty new. About a year since we started going live and answering a Q&A function type questions. Where is the best place to study police in Ontario College University? You don't need to study police to become a police officer. You can become an accountant and become a police officer afterwards. In fact, that makes you a pretty diverse and unique candidate. And we do have people who investigate financial crimes, so a very useful tool to have in your toolbox. There is no perfect answer for that. Education, take something that you are going to enjoy, that you're going to excel at, and that is something transferable and useful. Drama may not be the best thing to study if you're going to become a police officer, but it doesn't necessarily mean you can't, be a basket weaver and still become a police officer. How many working brake lights do you need on your vehicle? Okay, this is from Abrar Motala. Okay. I like to get names correctly, and I usually don't do it properly, but I try. Okay, the answer is 1. In Ontario, you must have 1 functioning brake light or you are eligible for a ticket. You must have 2, specifically 2 headlights as a minimum. Maximum 4, minimum 2 headlights. There's no maximum to brake lights that I'm aware of, but there is a minimum of 1. Can I offer a treat for police canines? Generally speaking, you will not be permitted to feed a canine, but that's going to be up to the officer. My understanding is they won't take treats. We don't generally accept anything from anyone, dogs that are police officers or regular police officers. They're working dogs, and generally speaking, not taking treats. Ashton Stein coming in says, good morning, my favorite officer. Love the jacket. It's my Motor Squad jacket. Yes, I'm in Motor Squad mode today. And Ashton is my favorite Manitoban. He's one of our moderators who is out in Manitoba because that's where he is. Okay. Pickle wants to know, wait, so it's still illegal if you live in your car? I think this is a follow-up question to driving or sleeping while impaired. Even if you live in a car, you cannot be drunk in your car because that constitutes impaired operation, which what used to be considered an impaired operation is now called, it used to be considered carrying control. Now it's just considered impaired operation. The only exemption to that is motorhomes. They're specifically called motorhomes, and they have different rules when parked than a car. Can you describe in short about U-turn rules? The best thing would be to watch the videos that we've put up about U-turns, but generally speaking, they're legal unless signed otherwise and can be completed in safety. When you make that turn, you are taking on the responsibility, that liability that you're doing it safely. When it comes to other areas, you cannot make U-turns. On curves and crests of grades, tunnels, viaducts, bridges, in front of railway crossings. Those are all areas you simply cannot, within range, do that. But ultimately, it's a dangerous maneuver. And again, you're responsible when you do it. Okay. No turn signals between certain times are dangerous. Okay. What's your opinion on scrap metal collectors? I mean, my opinion on the industry of scrap metal, I don't really have one. In terms of people who put things in the back of their vehicles and don't properly secure them, then they're violators of the HTA, and I would lay charges against them. But that depends on their activities, not their designation of what they do for a living. It's all about safety for me. I don't judge people on what they do. People got to eat. Okay. Can your passengers smoke weed in the car when you drive? No. You cannot consume alcohol or drugs in a motor vehicle, even if they are legal to consume outside of a vehicle. You can't do it in a car. Okay.
I have one on this
You have
topic.
one?
Yeah.
What do you
I
have?
think you answered it before. Do you want a drink?
I just had a drink.
Okay. Can I sleep in the car after I've drank or after I've smoked weed?
So we actually just finished answering that again, like a question ago. But no, you cannot. You cannot if you are under the influence of alcohol or drugs. You cannot be in your vehicle as whether it be the driver or sleeping in the back seat. That is considered care and control, or what used to be considered care and control, and now qualifies for impaired operation. Even if you are not planning to drive right now, you could change your mind in 5, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, you're still impaired, and because of that, you still qualify for arrest.
So what if they don't have their car keys on them?
So if it really depends on what you're talking about, because if you don't have car keys, you have no possible way of operating that car, then that's a different story. If you do not have the keys anywhere in any way, shape, or form and have no opportunity to start that vehicle, you could argue that you could sleep in the vehicle because you do not have the means to start the car. But where are the keys? So it gets complicated, and you may find yourself explaining that in court. Okay. Tesla autopilot driver reading. Is it distracted? It's careless. You are still operating a motor vehicle. There is no full autopilot. There is no autonomous mode for the Tesla in Ontario. So autopilot mode is still requiring you to supervise it. It is not infallible. It does not get you to your destination. You got to be there, and you have to control the vehicle. So yeah, it's careless driving. If you're reading, if you were on your phone reading, it would be the distracted driving. Let's see here. Akela Dracona says motorhomes like boats has a bathroom and sleeping facilities. Yes, exactly. That's why it changes things. Why do traffic laws not apply to cops? Well, I don't know what traffic laws you're referring to. If you mean speaking or using a handheld communication device or two-way radio, a cell phone, a computer, that's because there's an exemption under the law that allows us to use them because we are emergency services and it's required as part of what we do. If you're talking about exceeding the speed limit, there's an exemption under the Highway Traffic Act that allows us to exceed the speed limit because it's part of what we do. If it means doing reckless and dangerous things, we're not exempt from causing collisions or driving dangerously. It's within specific confines. We still have to stop for stop signs. We still have to stop before going through a red light. Even though we're using our lights and sirens, we have to come to a complete stop, make sure it's safe to proceed. And if we cause a collision while we're doing that, we're responsible. So there's no blanket permission to do whatever we want on the road. We're still regulated. And we record everything in our GPS tracked, so we're scrutinized. I had a friend who pulled out of a police station, ran a stop sign while racing to help someone in need, and got written up and lost 4 hours off his pay for running a stop sign. Guess what? It was videotaped. And even though he was doing the right thing, he broke the rules and he paid for it. So no, there's no blanket exemption. Let's see here. We covered the lowering your car question a little while ago. This hour has flown by. It's already 10 to 11. Wow. Will says, good morning. Sorry, I was away yesterday. No problem, Will. You know, well, we're not going to dock your pay. Will is, of course, a volunteer. He's a moderator and a volunteer, and he's not paid. And he's not a police officer. Is it illegal not to yield to green light fire? So a green flashing or strobe on a vehicle it designates a volunteer firefighter. It is not illegal not to yield to them. It is a courtesy to pull off the side of the road because they're going to go and help someone who could be dying or their house could be burning down. So if you don't yield to them, you might be a horrible person, but you are not breaking the law. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. What is this? Looking for questions. Opinions on autonomous vehicles in general. I look forward to the day when they are truly autonomous and truly safe. I think that's really cool. I would love to be able to do that whole, was it Time Cop, where I get into the car at the end of the day after work and say, take me home and then take a nap. if that ever comes, I will rejoice. I think that's amazing. I do enjoy driving, though, so I also like to be the guy with the 1960s muscle car who drives to and from, even though everybody else is in an autonomous vehicle. I don't know. I like driving. I'm a car guy. I'm a motorcycle guy, so I don't want to give up my ability to drive. But I like having I like the idea of having the option of saying, "Take me to Florida," and then taking like a nap and waking up on the beach. I think that'd be really cool. Don't see it happening anytime soon, but I think it'd be really cool. When paying a fine, can I pay in installments? If you go to court, you can tell the court that you have issues with finances and that you would like to pay and plead guilty, but you need time to pay, and they do have the ability of doing that for you. Good question. I don't think anyone's ever asked that question. It may have happened. We may have answered it in a roundabout way, but I don't think we actually had the question, so thank you.
This person needs you to verbally answer this question.
Oh, they don't believe you, huh? Okay, what's up?
No, it's not that they don't believe me. They don't read the chat.
Oh, okay.
Can I put my plate in my windshield?
No. Plates can be posted if your vehicle is registered in Ontario, or if your vehicle is registered anywhere that has two plates. The way the law is written, at least in Ontario, says the front and back of the vehicle in a conspicuous place. Well, the front windshield is not the front of your vehicle. It faces forward, but it is not the front of your vehicle. It is also obstructed by a windshield, further complicating things and making sure that it is not legal. So there's a couple of things. One, a plate sitting on your dashboard is not secured and could become a projectile in the event of a collision, so it's dangerous above all things. But aside from the potential danger, the issue is that it's not in the right place. You get a ticket for not displaying it properly, $110. Is it true that traffic police have ticket quotas? No. It is not true, at least here. I don't know about any other police service or any other province or state in the country, or in either of the countries in North America. But it is certainly not a thing here. We're expected to go out and do our job, and there are officers who go out and exclusively do enforcement, like the Vision Zero enforcement team. But if we if we stop one vehicle and that turns into a whole day investigation that involves an arrest and a thing, you're not going to be told you weren't doing your job because you only wrote one. You take each call and you go where it takes you. And I know that I was allowed to write as many tickets as I wanted when I was on the road. No one said I had to stop after 10 or 20, so I wrote as many as I could because I was out there making a difference, one ticket at a time. Okay. If your only option is to speed up or risk safety, can you speed? I'm going to read into it, and you're looking for permission to break the law. No, you're never allowed to exceed the speed limit legally. You do what you got to do because you're going to do what you're going to do regardless of what I tell you, but know that you could be ticketed, and as a result, you may be charged and found guilty. So there's no permission to exceed the speed limit unless you're a police, fire, and ambulance where you have a specific exemption under the law. How does one become a moderator for your TikTok? That's a very good question. First thing to do would probably be getting involved with our Discord server that Q set up. That is a way to get involved with the community, and then there is an application form, and then you can apply to officially become a volunteer for the police service, and which is a process that is ongoing, and then you could become a community moderator. Okay. And I'll post, I say I'll do it, I'll try and post a link right after the show. Hopefully I don't forget, but there is or are posts that have the link to come into our Discord.
I'm not sure if TikTok filtered it, but I posted it in the QA.
Oh, good to know. But check it out. You can go to VoiceOver Cop on Twitter, and I will post it there, after the show. What qualifies as an unsafe load? Well, something that's not secure, for one. Unsafe could be many things, but insecure load is a load that's not tied down and secure. That could become separated from the vehicle that is carrying it. I think that's the simplest way of putting it. Obviously, there's other things that would consider unsafe depending on what the regulations are for carrying certain products. So I couldn't get into the details of that because I don't know the expansive options and possibilities that I wouldn't know where to start. But our CVOR guys, who I'm told are going to come talk to us on air, are going to be able to answer those questions. I don't know when they're going to be on the air, but we're going to bring them here. What's your personal, I don't know why I said personal with an SH, a personal speed threshold when running radar? Depends on the environment I'm working in. If I'm in a 30 kilometer an hour zone, which I often went to, 10 kilometers an hour, no question, I'd pull you over. If I was in a 60, 15 kilometers an hour, I'd pull you over. It really depends on where it was. And obviously, I want the fastest person I can find, but if you're the one I point my laser at and you're speeding, I pull you over. To me, it's not a matter of I'm waiting for the fastest one. I will write everyone. That's breaking the rules, because anyone who exceeds the speed limit is making the roads unsafe. Let's see here. What's the silliest thing you ticketed for? Silliest? Speeding's a silly thing. People shouldn't be doing that. They're silly when they speed. What do you mean silliest thing? Let's see here. Let's go in a Q&A. Only a few minutes left. How long court challenge ticket last if not dealt with? How long until the dismissal? See, things have all changed with COVID. It used to be that after a year you could apply for an 11B application to say it was unreasonable and you were taking too long. Now I think that's been extended to 2 years, and it may even be extended beyond that. But you need to check with the courts to see what they're doing. And I imagine what they'll be doing is, dealing with a very unique set of circumstances, and it'll likely be extended beyond what they originally planned to do. But I don't know, so check with them. Akela Draconis says, I guess you stop when your ticket book is empty or you run out of violators. Well, no, it's just I stop when my shift is over. I keep going until they tell me to go home. But yeah, run out of paper. I go get more paper and continue to do my job. There's no stopping. There's so many people who are breaking the law. There's no shortage of people to write tickets to. Why do people expect me to let them in when merging on the highway? Because it should be courteous, Rob. It's all about cooperative driving. When we're all looking out for each other and we're a community, we get to where we're going safely. So it's actually against the law to actively prevent someone from changing lanes. So if you see them coming and you don't want to let them in, so you hit the gas to squeeze them out, that could be seen as an offense in itself. Now, the deal for I was just talking about this today. What you should be doing, what people should be doing, is allowing people in a zipper effect. Every other vehicle should let somebody in so that it functions like a zipper. That's an efficient way to have people merge. And if everyone did that, we would see a lot less traffic and congestion because we just get there smoothly. This is the Discord code. Hopefully, it works for you. If you screen grab that and type it in, you should be able to get into our Discord. What's going on here? What are the consequences of driving on an Indian license? Do you mean Indian from India? An international international license. If you are visiting Canada, every province will have its own rules, but as a visitor, generally speaking, you can drive for a period of time on your international license. Now, if you become a resident, then you need to apply for a license where you are living in most cases. If you're a student in Quebec, I believe they'll allow you to continue driving on your foreign license. However, in Ontario, if you become a student here, you become a resident, and they will expect you to get a local Ontario driver's license. Let's see here. Boom, boom, boom. Can you use a full M as a G1, then apply for a G2 8 months later? That's a good question. The answer is that a full M license does qualify as a G1 when you are being supervised by a fully licensed driver. Whether or not it counts towards the 8 months for your G2, 8 months is if you take a qualifying driver's license, driving course. I don't know, and we just lost, he never heard the end of the question because Instagram just timed out. But the answer to the question for everyone who is not the person who asked the question is that I think you would need to get a proper G1 to start the clock. But it does allow you to have the benefits of G1 when supervised. Not seeing what in YouTube, Akela? Is YouTube not functioning? What's the question? I just saw your comment, but I don't understand the context of the comment. Oh, you're not seeing it on Discord. Sorry, Kayla. Now I understand. It is. I don't think Q put it up on YouTube. I believe it was just on TikTok. Still on screen? I'm not even going to try and type that out. Q, if you get a chance, if you can. Oh, there it is. Thank you so much, Q.
I got you.
Yeah. All right. Scrolling. Let's see what's up here. Favorite police car. Now, internationally, I think the Lamborghini that was in United Emirates was pretty cool. I saw some pictures of some wild police cars. They have a pretty amazing fleet. Police car here, favorite? It's going to be the Harley Davidson police motorcycle that I used to ride before I crashed. That was my favorite ride. Most comfortable option. Wind in my hair. I liked my flowing locks in the wind. It was the most fun thing for me, a most comfortable thing. Our vehicles, when I started on the road, were Crown Victorias. I don't fit in the Taurus at all. Although I've driven one once. It was scary as to how cramped I felt. And the Explorers are fine. But in terms of favorite, if I had an option, I'd be on a motorcycle every single day. I think Q just put it on screen for you, Kale. It popped up, but now it's gone again. But we got you. It was on screen a second ago. You missed it. Let's see here. Is it illegal to drive with no shoes? No, it's not illegal to drive with no shoes. It is legal to drive with flip-flops, no shoes, although it's not the best option. It's not the safest option. It's not illegal. So things that are good to know. But wear shoes. In my opinion, you should always wear shoes. And as I always say, if you smash that brake pedal without shoes, you might hurt your toesies. Okay. What is going on here? How long is I don't know what that is. Oh, how long is a shift for a traffic officer? It was asked in two parts. It depends. We have officers working 12-hour shifts now. It used to be 10 hours and 8 hours for a night shift. Shifts have changed since I was on the road. I believe they're working 11 and a half hours right now. But I could be wrong. I need to ask someone who actually works on the road. Okay. Liam has more questions about Sudbury. Can't help you there. Do ambulances and police cars have maximum speed limits? If they do, I've never hit it. I don't need to speed to the point of being limited, so I couldn't tell you if they do or don't. At the end of the day, we're responsible for everything we do, so I don't see, if you're going to be doing breakneck speeds, you're going to have to be able to articulate why. Because remember, we're being tracked by GPS, and lights go off at dispatch control when we go too fast. They wanting to know why we'd be going that fast. What if I drift, and what's the charge for that? This is a great way to close the show. The deal is that if you are drifting, you're stunt driving. If you're stunt driving, that's an offense under the Highway Traffic Act. It comes with a 30-day suspension, a 14-day vehicle impound, and you get to pay for the tow as well as the storage fees associated. Upon conviction, you'd be looking at a 1 to 3 year suspension, fines between $3,000 and $10,000. On your first conviction, it goes up from there because obviously if you keep drifting and stunt driving, you got problems and you need to be taken off the road because you're a danger to the public and yourself. And that's the deal. That's the deal. So what can I tell you? We are going to be back tomorrow, 9:30 in the morning. Why 9:30? Because we will be joining News Talk 1010 Jerry Agar Show, the Jerry Agar Show at 9:30, answering questions from his call-in and text-in listeners. We'll be on the air in Toronto. And then, now, of course, if you have questions, you can join us at 9:32. We'll be talking and answering questions there, and then we will slide right into our regular 10 o'clock spot and stay with you right till 11 o'clock when we try and get through everybody's questions. If you don't already follow us, please do. We'd love to have you as part of the fam. And you can also follow us on our YouTube channel where all of these streams are archived and available for you to watch morning, noon, and night. In fact, you could cover many, many, many hours. I think we have like 250 shows last year alone that you could go and watch archives of. You can go through and find the best of. You can find all my errors and things I've tripped on. It's a lot of fun. We'll be back tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed and hope you join us tomorrow. Take care.